Is it okay for me to just start the introduction?
You can start now.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Thank you very much for being part of this year's West African Agribusiness Show Colloquium. It was started yesterday and we had a very good time yesterday. The discussions were very, very robust, very, very far-reaching, very, very insightful. You know, one of the very key things that I picked from yesterday's discussions was that for us to have food sustainability, food sufficiency in Nigeria, nay Africa, there has to be a synergy between the private and the public sectors. That was the crux of what was discussed yesterday. And then, if we consider Nigeria as a case study, we discover that the participation between the government and the private sectors have brought a lot of benefits, in recent times. And we just assume and pray that the federal government, through the Ministry of Agriculture and the other research organizations, will do much to ensure that this year and the years to come begin to have huge harvests, in terms of products and all that. And then huge harvests also, even for the farmers who stake their all to feed the nation. And I pray that the Lord God will grant all of us grace to be part of the harvest to come in Jesus' name. Good morning again, one more time. Good morning again, everybody. This morning's edition starts very shortly, and our topic is data-driven agriculture development for optimal productivity and profitability. Data-driven agriculture development for optimal productivity and profitability. This morning, Mr. Oluwafemi Stevens is already in the house. He's been ready forever, waiting for the rest of the team to come. And he's going to be the moderator for today. Mr. Oluwafemi Stevens is a senior business transformation expert with extensive industry, managerial and experiences working with industry leaders, working with CEOs, managers, team leaders, and senior bureaucrats, creating value and sustaining growth for the industries that he's been part of. He has more than 2 decades as business technologist and strategist, and he has been part of the implementation of one of the first convergent billing platforms in sub-Saharan African region. He has specializations in innovation management, project portfolio management, systems integration, enterprise architecture, transformation, Internet of Things, IoT, artificial intelligence, architectures, and telecoms. He's also well-versed in computer science and artificial intelligence. He holds numerous qualifications from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where he studied computer science and artificial intelligence. And also he had a course at the Yale University in the United States. He studied at the Duke University, USA, Copenhagen Business School, Denmark, University of Benin, Nigeria, and is also a licensed practitioner in innovation management systems. Mr. Femi Stevens, you're welcome as moderator this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for availing us of your vast wealth of experience. And of course, the discussion for this morning has 3 panelists. There is Mr. Emmanuel Azaino, Mr. Bolaji Akiboro is also in the house, and we have Prince Adebayo Yahweh Was. Mr. Emmanuel Azaino is a seasoned agricultural researcher and development professional with many years of experience in the private research and development sectors. He currently works with the West Africa Trade and Investment Hub in the capacity of Research and Development Director. As R&D Director, he oversees the Trade Hub's grant program to agribusinesses and agricultural research institutions seeking grants to implement innovations and technologies that improve smallholder farmers' productivity. He holds a first degree in Agric from the Great Obasanjo University, Ile-Ife, and a master's degree in Agriconomics from the University of Ibadan. He has attended various specialized local and international training programs, including presentation of papers at many conferences and Agric forums. Next is Mr. Bolaji Akinboro. He has spent most of his professional career creating opportunities and businesses, especially in the public, private, and non-profit sectors. He was responsible for executing the Growth and Enhancement Support Scheme for the federal government of Nigeria under Dr. Akinwumi, additional of the ATV. The program enabled the disbursement of fertilizers, seed, and other inputs worth $1 billion through more than 5,700 agribusinesses to over 14.5 million rural farmers via the e-wallet system. Also, this project helped to stabilize food prices in Nigeria for over 5 years and doubled the income of rural farmers. Mr. Akiboro proved that the success of this program was not down to luck, but expertise and discipline honed by several years of experience as he replicated the development of this technology in other countries, such as in Liberia, Afghanistan, and Togo. He co-founded Cellulant Corporation, a fintech business with a presence in 15 markets across the African continent. With his experience in FMCG, international non-governmental organizations, and technology, he has provided leadership and governance to the Vorianos Corelli operations by delivering a matching solution for the agri sector backed by blockchain technology. Mr. Akinboro, you're welcome. Thank you for making time out of your busy schedule to be part of this panel discussion. And last but certainly not the very least, Prince Adebayo Yawowaz. He is a visionary technologist, an enterprise architect, a disruptive strategist, and cybersecurity risk management specialist. He is resource-driven, self-motivated, design thinking professional. He is proficient in disruption strategy, network design, Lean Six Sigma, unified communication, project management, and the rest. He was certified by the Cornell Johnson College of Business in Executive and High Performance Leadership, a Harvard Kennedy School Executive Education Certified Graduate in Cybersecurity Risk Management, a Harvard Business School Certified Specialist in Disruptive Strategy, a Specialist Certified Strategic Management and Innovation and Inspirational Leadership Strategist, Leading with Sense, a graduate of Electronics and Computer Engineering and the Quantic School of Business and Technology, Executive MBA. That one is in progress. He also plays chess as a way of life and as a means of relaxing. He likes to read, he likes to bowl, he likes to travel, and does research as hobbies. He's a father, he's a husband, and he has 3 children. God bless them in Jesus' name. And God bless all the other children that we also didn't mention. Thank you very much, everyone. Well, before we go ahead, we'd like to appreciate our sponsors. We have Farmson Company Limited. We have Livestock Feeds PLC, Agro Nigeria, Livestock News. We have Rome Business School, the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NASIMA. We have the Federation of West African Chambers of Commerce. We have the West African Fertilizer Association, the Institute of Agribusiness Management in Nigeria. And also we have social media that people handle for us. We're on Facebook. If anybody wants to join us on Facebook, we're live on Facebook as West Africa Agribusiness Show. We are on Instagram as WAS_exhibition. We're on Twitter as WAS_exhibition. Very shortly, today's morning session will begin. My name is Mojukwe Olubanjo, and I am the Master of Ceremonies for today. Very shortly, we're going to have a video ad from there to kickstart the panel very much. You're welcome.
I have with me some of our distributors from the Republic of Benin. Can we meet you, please?
I'm Samuel Obona. I'm a businessman, Treaters Group of Company. We are from Benin Republic. We are here to see the products of PSC Nigerian Limited here in Ikeja, to know how the business, the product will move forward in Benin Republic. And we are here with the Director General, Dr. Patrick Owele.
Now that you've come to Lagos, Nigeria to see our products for yourselves, what is your advice for the Republic of Benin as regards to our solar products?
There is no way of not convincing our customer to come and buy PSC Solar products. Nous invitons toute la population du Bénin à adopter les produits PSC Solar.
Yes, good morning. Good day to everybody around the world.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning to you. I'm trying to locate Prince here.
Yeah, can you hear me though?
Yeah, well, I say good afternoon to you or good evening to you.
Oh, it's good. It's good early morning. It's 3 a.m. with me right now.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Good morning all, and good morning to the participants. You're welcome again to WAS 2021. I hope I'm audible to everybody. So before we go on, I would just want to put what we are to discuss today in perspective. First of all, I would like to thank the WAS team for this opportunity again and for doing such a great job in congregating the best in order to solve one of the biggest problems in Africa. So thank you for this great job. I believe all of us can see my screen, so let me just hold on a bit. If you can see my screen, you can use the chat room to just notify, or if you cannot see it, let us know so that the technical team can handle it from their back end. For the members of the panel, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Okay. So we are ready to roll. The title of this session is Data-Driven Agribusiness for Optimal Productivity and Profitability. It's all about productivity, it's all about profitability. And I have with me, the introduction has been done, Prince, Bolaji, Emmanuel, and myself. I call us the Dream Team. So I hope we're going to live up to the billing today, guys.
Great.
So data-driven.
Yes, we are all prepared.
Yes. Data-driven, I think we can't overemphasize this, but to just start and put it in the right perspective, I would like to read this quote from the chief economist in Google. So the ability to take data, to be able to understand it, to process it, to extract value from it, to visualize it, to communicate it, is going to be a hugely important skill in this decade. The ability to understand data in whatever you are doing, ability to process it. Then there's a part we say, torture the data, meaning that extract value from the data, then to make it more usable, to visualize it and to communicate it. This will take your business to the next level. Why are we doing what we are doing? Why are we here today? I think the graph here shows it. The demand in the market, the food demand in the market skyrocketing, and the production is barely trying to catch up. So how do we bridge the gap between demand and production? As you can see on that screen, the graph again, visualizing the data that we have collected. The red curve is food demand between now and 2030. The green line, the dotted line, is where we are in terms of food production. As you can see, the gap between demand and production. And that is why we are here. What we've been discussing since yesterday, today, and tomorrow is how do we bridge this gap to ensure food security. And what we're saying is to unlock the potential that can feed the billions that we are facing, we need to be data-driven. We need to apply the data science to what we are doing. Just some important agri data here. The size of food and agriculture in Africa will rise to $1 trillion by 2030. So huge potential in that area. Now, this is one interesting part that I love very much, and that is West Africa does with food what we do with food will determine the future of food globally, because 65% of the arable land left to feed the world is in Africa. So we are more or less the food basket of the world. And the good thing is that we are here. We are here. So what are we doing with it? Now, I just want to draw and focus to the part here regarding the agricultural analytics, which is what we are going to be talking about today. The market is growing, and the market is projected to grow between $585 million to $1.2 billion by 2023, just 3 years away from us. That's about ×2, is going to double. Meaning that the injection of data science into what we are doing in agribusiness and agriculture is growing. It's growing. To decouple the discussion, you can't do anything but look at the value chain. You can call it sector, but let's do that value chain analysis from agri inputs, weather forecasting, agri production, the processing arm of the chain, storage, trading and agri-commerce, logistics and distribution, consumption, recycling, and waste management. If you look at this chain, what I'm saying is huge opportunity and potential. Either you are looking at it from the production side to the distribution side or the consumption side. Then you look at the service side where you have all the suppliers, the financiers, the bank, and the investment company. You have the agripreneurs, you have government playing their role. So this ecosystem can only fulfill their potential where we focus on data and don't run the system by emotion. Just a quick look at how data is transforming the industry and agribusiness as a whole. Yesterday when we were meeting with the members of the team, the thought that came up is that you can't really have technology without data. You can't really have business to survive in this age without data. And data will determine the kind of technology and innovation capability you can bring to bear to move your business forward. So looking at this, it has been found out that those that use data are 75% more likely to achieve competitive advantage in the market. When you have data about your customer, or when you have data about your production line, when you have data about how to serve, how to utilize your asset, you are 75% more likely to gain competitive advantage in the market, to lead in the market. Then you are 35% more likely to reach the market first with newer products. The attention period of customer nowadays is very, very short. Even their loyalty is very, very fickle. So how do you retain them? You have to keep finding better way to serve them. The other data we have been able to visualize there is those that are using data are more innovative and they're technology driven. And what we're saying is not to invest billions of dollars to kind of solve your business problem. There are simple ways online that you can have access to manage your business data. And those people using data and technology, the revenue growth is 300% in terms of what they have achieved. Return on investment is 22% compared to those that are not. Many of them, they lead in their market. Then productivity improvement. These are what they achieve using data. The next part here, I won't bore you with this one, but it's good to mention that when you have data in driving your agribusiness, Asset utilization and optimization, they are very, very easy. You know what is working, you know what is not working, and you know how to remove the waste from the system. The next part is you are able to deliver, you are able to execute, and it's all about delivery. It's all about productivity. Effort is nothing. So you need data to help you to deliver on new products, to create new markets, and to innovate. And finally, you will derive value realization on all your investment. Torture the data, and it will confess to anything. And this is what the other part of the world have been able to master. They have been working based on the data they have been able to collect, able to process, able to analyze. And I believe the members of the panel today, they're going to show us the practicality, how this can help you regardless of the size of your business and regardless of where you are in the value chain. So on the final note, using data provides better understanding and deeper insight. I know many of us will not like to drive your car without the dashboard. You need to visualize the data, see where the fuel gauge is. So why are you driving your business without a proper dashboard? Boosting productivity and innovation will be enabled. Managing environmental challenges. Yesterday we talked about planting, how climate, pest, and the environment is affecting productivity. So how do you do that? It's by using data, predictive data, to help you know when to plant, what to plant, and where to plant. Cost savings and business opportunity. I've mentioned this before, how to save costs so that you don't waste your resources. Then finally, this is key, and that is the better supply chain management. In this industry, you know, is all about how well you can manage the supply chain from production to distribution and consumption. How do you synchronize all the activity without wasting things and optimizing your resources? Data beats emotion is not by making noise. Data gives you the power, empowers you to make better decisions. Thank you. So I would now kind of turn over to my esteemed panelists with their thoughts. They have been drawn from different industries that we can't but like to hear them talk about what they are doing, the exploit that they are doing in the different parts of the industry. I will start from Mr. Akimboro.
Yeah, thank you very much, Femi, presentation and for laying the foundation, because you've put together the set of slides that we'll be referring to as we talk along this conversation. I also want to thank the organizers of WAS 2021. Thank you for inviting me to say a few words here. And to the audience in the room, I am actually building on what Femi has said. I want to introduce you to a concept because it's important you leave this, our panel, with very tangible things you can use in your businesses. You have heard of Obamanomics. And today, because Biden is the president of America, they are talking about Bidenomics. And when Donald Trump was there, they spoke about Trumponomics. And when George Bush was there, they spoke about Bushonomics. I want to introduce a new language in agriculture. I call it Agriconomics, which is the system and arrangement of the actors in the value chain in a way that creates sustainable profits for everyone. And that's really the role of digital. How do we use digital to make sustainable businesses, sustainable ventures, sustainable enterprises a reality in the agriculture value chain end to end. So I've introduced you to the concept of agriconomics. Now, to really understand agriconomics and the role of digital, there are three things that I want you to have in mind. What creates wealth? What puts the dollars in our pockets? If you look at agriculture as an economic system, that's the second thought I want to bring to your mind. We begin to think of agriculture as an economic system. The Chinese said, we will be the factory of the world. But we, the Africans, need to say, especially us, the West Africans, we need to say, we will be the food basket of the world.
Of the world.
It is not just to feed ourselves, but to feed the world. And immediately we do that, it means as long as people are eating, the dollars should drop in our pocket, no matter where we are in the value chain. And for that dollars to drop, it's really about three things where digital plays a role. And I'm borrowing from classical economics. When they write the equation for GDP, they will say, if you want to look at the GDP of a country, you look at production, you look at investments, and you look at consumption. And that equation is actually also the foundation of agriconomics, which is the system that creates prosperity through agriculture. So when you look at production, the role of digital is very, very interesting. And I want you to look at digital. This is how I think about it. I think about digital as the organizing principle behind effective production. Because when you look at production, you need tractors. It's a form of technology. You need high quality seeds and fertilizer. It's a form of technology. You need solar powered pumps. It's a form of technology. The question is, digital allows us to connect all of these things together in a clever way. And the example I will give is the e-wallet program that Nigerian government was running, that eventually went to Liberia and all the way to Afghanistan. What was the idea? The idea was actually to create an agricultural economy based on the idea that farmers need to produce, they need high quality seeds, they need high quality fertilizers, they need tractorization. But for that thing to really create wealth, government has to build what I call the knowledge base. And that knowledge base is data. The purpose of this session, Nigerian government had to say, we are going to do two things. One, we are going to figure out where is all our arable land across the country. We are going to figure out where are all our farmers. And then we are going to build the soil fertility maps. Because immediately you know which land is arable, which land is fertile, you already know what kind of fertilizer should go there and which farmer is there. You can combine the three together to say, this is the crop that will do well. And you cannot begin to say, let people get seeds and fertilizer to grow. And you see, all these data points now, policymakers began to mix them together to create this economic system. Question is, how do we take advantage of this kind of thinking across the continent? And not to take too much time, I can hear you, Femi.
Yes, you raised an important point now. I was kind of thinking of calling him Prince Yahweh Wise on this, but let me call Mr. Emmanuel that have done something around this point that you have just raised. How do we connect all these data points together based on the project that he has done with AFDB, if I'm correct? Mr. Emmanuel. Oh, you are muted.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Femi, for providing the necessary background to this discussion. And my thanks to Bolaji too for all the additions that he has made on this very important topic. Now, I just wanted to come in from the perspective of, an agriculturist, an agricultural economist, and someone who has been working, at the farm end of the value chain. So much has been said about food production, the capacity of West Africa to produce food, Africa being the food basket and all of that. But we need to realize that this food production that we're talking about is currently threatened, by the climate change, which is a key problem that the whole world is experiencing, and West Africa. Some of the seeds that farmers are using, some of the agronomy and the cropping systems that have been used, they are no longer relevant because of the change that is brought about by climate change. And so while we're talking about the digitalization and the data collection and all of that, we need to realize that data on climate, data on rainfall patterns, data on soil moisture, soil types, and even the fact that the environment has changed to a large extent also means that the seed types that farmers have been planting are no longer the productive types of seed that should be planted in such terrains. And even when that is, when you think of that, there are even some very extreme situations where the kind of crop that farmers are used to in a particular location are no longer the type of crops they should be growing, in all of those locations. So this means that we need data on cropping system, data on crop types, moisture, temperature, soil changes and all of that. Disease and even pest profiles for us to, be able to and food production, in West Africa. And so, so data is very important, but the data of this production aspect of agriculture, I think is very important and something that we all must continue to reflect on and do something about. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we turn the table to Prince Yahweh Wise. Please, your quick thought.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Femi, for that little bit of introduction, and also Mr. Balaji and Emmanuel. You've actually touched the key things and points as to why we need digitalization in the agribusiness sector. Pretty much, from my own point of view, right, we start with what really is digitalization for agriculture, right? And just to reiterate what everyone has said, from my own point of view, right? It's the use of digital technologies, innovation, and data to transform different agricultural business models, right? Across that agricultural value chain, and to address any bottlenecks, right? Maybe within the field of the legislation bottleneck, maybe government policies bottleneck, maybe standard bottleneck, maybe even cultural bottleneck when you look at from small farm holders to large establishment that involves in agriculture. There are different bottlenecks in productivity, post-harvest handling, market access, finance, and within the supply chain management itself, right? So when we have this data and information about a lot of details and features that actually cuts across this value chain, eventually it achieves greater income, right, for smallholder farmers. It's going to lead to improving food quality. And help, to address nutrition security. And what do I mean by nutrition security? We all strive to have balanced diet, and a very good, healthy nation, right, and good, healthy people translate to a healthy nation. And that healthy nation, when you have nutrition security that is being taken care of, then you know that we're addressing feeding for all. How do we make sure that we are taking care of poverty, hunger within the environment if we don't have the data of the individuals, the people, maybe in interland, rural areas, the urban areas, to be able to marry that and translate to our production itself, to make sure that the food production along that value chain actually addresses and cater for the whole population as a whole, right? Mr. Bolaji mentioned a couple of information about, population data collation and things like that. So eventually, going to what Mr. Emmanuel equally addressed on, this data is going to help us to build climate resilience, right? And that climate resilience in the sense that we're able to understand the features and the climatic conditions whereby we're producing agriculture as a whole. And then it gives us that strength, that information to be able to know that if we can create some disruptive measure to the climatic conditions that we have, it builds that climate resilience to make sure that if we decide, for example, in Africa, maybe Nigeria as an example, if we decide that we want to continue having corn, right, produced throughout the whole year, we could actually do that, right? We could actually have different measures to make sure that there is farming and culture of corn throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
And that data helps us to expand, people, inclusion of youth, women, and every other individual.
Yeah, Prince, I didn't want you to preempt the next question I was about to ask. I'm kind of reading here from the participants, some of their comments. I would like you to send in your question using the chat room so that we can take your thoughts. I would like this session to be very, very interactive. I would like the participant to send in their thoughts. I can see one here from Praise Bello. Great analysis, highly insightful. Agripreneurs and investor must see far. I call it far sight. Planning, expanding, and driving with a working and relevant dashboard. I love that. Relevant dashboard. How do you visualize the data you have? Now, let's bring this home. We had a program last year called The Future of Work. And a member of the panel just said, how do we localize this? How is this impacting Mama Yabo in Mount 12? What is the relationship with what we are talking here with that guy out there that don't have access to the kind of information we have? How do we localize this? And that brings me to this question. In simple terms, what is data-driven agriculture? That's number one. And what does it mean for the smallholder farmers? So I will start with Prince. What is data-driven agriculture, and what does it mean for the smallholder farmers?
Yeah, thanks very much, and that was a good insight. So, simple data-driven agriculture, just like we've said, is the avenue to use data to control collection, storage, sharing of information across the agriculture value chain. The collation of data is power, right? It helps you to understand what are the needs that you're going to use in creating services and products, right? that will allow the benefits, right, for creating insights and providing distinctive market advantage. Market advantage cuts across the value chain. So from farm to fork, the customers that get to consume, right? The data that they have about the products that they're consuming, where they can, access product, where they can access goods and services, what market, what farm produce is going to come to a particular market or to a particular unit, where they can have access to their food. Data is going to create that business insight for them, right? And for smallholders, right, it's a power as well, right? Because what it does is it's going to help them to contribute to the exponential income growth, right? The access to data helps them to really forecast, and it helps them to really understand how they're going to go about maybe the crop rotation, maybe the logistics realm, maybe within the economical point of view, accessing funds. Having all this data are the things that it's going to help them to make those better decisions and to produce better services and to produce better products. Right? But one thing that we have to really understand about data collation is, most especially to smallholders and to a lot of other people, there's privacy and there's security involved, right? The privacy in the sense that we need to continue to create that awareness. That's where the connect is. Because a rural smallholder might think that you're collecting this data information to influence his own production or to influence how he's going to make profit from his sales, right? And they can, at a very good point in time, stop or deny or refuse to provide enough information right while you're collecting data, right? About smallholders itself. So we need to create that awareness about their privacy. It's not being infringed on, and there's, we'll talk about security resilience, climate resilience, and security for their information and their market value and their income as well. So it's all about awareness for smallholders, and to let them understand that, there's a benefit in sharing an exchange of agricultural data, right? And it's not going to leave them disempowered, right? And it's just going to strengthen them to understand the standards, the local standards, the government standards, and how they can actually make advantage of it.
Good. I would like to take a thought from Mr. Zaino. You've worked with hundreds of thousands of farmers out there. How did you onboard them? How did you get them to work with you on the project in transforming food production in Nigeria and West Africa using data?
Thank you very much once again, Mr. Femi. The truth is that for the local farmer that we have worked with, data-driven agriculture would mean that they are taking every decision about their farm based on the data regarding their farmland and the locality where the farm is established, right? So when we say data-driven agriculture, is using the using the data, the weather data, to decide on when plowing, land preparation should start, and the seed sowing, right? The soil profile and the soil types and the nutrient, requirement based on soil tests to determine the fertilizer requirements, right? To use the soil nutrient data that is generated to determine the best type of crop that should be grown, right, in that location. And of course, the best type of crop to be grown in that location is also directly linked with the rainfall and the weather data, concerning that locality. So in short, for the smallholder farmers that we have worked with and the way we manage it, data-driven farming or agriculture means that every decision, regarding the farm is taken based on the data that is available.
Wow, wow, wow.
Now, the importance of this to the farmer cannot be overemphasized because farmers have been experiencing declining yields over the years. Some of the best varieties that farmers had 20 years ago or even 30 years ago are no longer doing well, and they are wondering what is happening. And what is happening is actually climate change, because it is the combination of the nutrient in the soil, the moisture, the temperature, the rainfall, and all of these factors that determine the performance of the crop. So if all of these things are changing, it means that, the farmer needs to be aware of all of this and use current data generated from the farm or from the area where the farm is located to make, farming decision.
Mr. Azano, I want to take you on something. The perspective I'm getting here is that, for example, the seedling that the farmers are using are still the same seedlings that were passed down by their great-grandfather. And because the climate has actually changed between then and now, there should be a way to engineer the current kind of seedling that they are using.
Yes, thank you very much. The truth is this. We talk today about climate smart agriculture, and climate smart agriculture is not only looking at the weather, the seed environment alone. It's also looking at adapting the seed to the current weather in every, in localities where farmers, operate. So there is seed research, new variety releases, that are new varieties that are adapted to the current condition, new varieties that are drought resistant, new varieties that can, even early maturing, so that before the rains would because the rainfall pattern is not predictable anymore and shorter, there are early maturing varieties that farmers can plant to beat, the climate, change effect on rainfall and all of that. So yes, farmers who use old seeds will continue to be vulnerable, to climate change effects. But today, there are a couple of seeds, new varieties that have been developed, that can help farmers adapt and beat climate change, effects.
Thank you very much for the contribution. I will move to the commercial part of this now. And the person to do justice to that is Mr. Kimboro. The question that we're looking at is, what is data-driven agriculture? Then what does it mean to that smallholder farmer out there? How do we localize it, both from the production and the commerce side of agriculture?
Thank you for that question, Femi. People have asked me this question many times, and I said to them that the first problem we have to solve for the smallholder farmer is market linkage. If you take a look at a market like Nigeria, let us just imagine in our minds a farmer in, let's say, Gumi local government, which is deep in northern Nigeria. Or let us take our minds to Liberia, a farmer in, let's say, Bong district in the mid part of Liberia, Or let us take Ghana, a farmer, let's say in Koforudua, so that farmer has cultivated, let us say, maize in our mind. What data do we need to provide that farmer for him to have security of market? The first data we need to provide that farmer is really who is buying. If you can begin to now provide farmers this index to say, as at this point in time, you've got 25 processors who are buying maize. This is what they want. This is what they're offering. You begin to discover that the farmer now has confidence that, okay, I can sell at a profit. The next thing we need to give the farmer now is really security of haulage, which is, can you people organize yourself together very quickly to put it on a truck to that person? And then how do we make sure that if you put it on the truck to that person and he leaves, they're not going to cheat you? So if we begin to make data available on transport, and then we begin to make data available on collateral management, which is how do we direct the farmer from fear, build trust in the system. And that's why interesting platforms like blockchain comes into play. So I believe that if you begin to solve that market linkage problem and begin to have transparency on who is buying, who is transporting, who is financing, and now you collect directly, you begin to help the farmer to move up the value chain. Because my observation has been that immediately you solve that problem, the farmer himself is a rational person. He will begin now to say that, look, if I know I can make money now, the next problem I can solve now is how do I make more? And how do I make it consistently? And that's how we use these data points now to begin to make life better for the farmer. I believe that we need to solve what I call the fundamental data problem, which is data on the market. What's the state of the market at any point in time? And then data on how the farmer can enter the market. Because today, the farmer does not know how they can enter the market. And I'll give an example. Let us say I'm a farmer in one village. A big processor says they want to buy. If I wanted to supply directly to that company, they're going to tell me, bring VAT certificates, bring national ID, bring this, bring that. That the farmer is just we've actually excluded him from the market. And that's why now we decided to kind of launch the new project I'm doing at Vodafone currently, which is intermediator companies that kind of solve this problem of packaging the farmer for those places where presenting himself now becomes a problem. In the financial sector, they will call it enhancement. We're enhancing the farmer. Let's say I wanted to borrow money and my credit is poor. Then Femi could be my answer. Is the one that says, Bolaji doesn't really have a lot of money, but I can borrow in my house to use. He has actually enhanced my own credit and my credibility with the bank. Wow. Based on his trust relationship with me. So that's how I think about it, that across the African continent now, these are the new paradigms we have to kind of bring to agriculture to solve this problem. Okay, they are not really new because they've done it elsewhere before. It's just that like Emmanuel said earlier, we need to bring new paradigms that have worked in the other world and customize it to African context. That's what I would say, Femi.
Yeah, I think we need to stretch this thought further. I can get some perspectives around awareness, education, communication, data sharing. Because before you can get this smallholder farmer or an agripreneur out there to really enjoy the power of data in rendering their services, they need to know the power. They need to know the potential of what it can do for their business. And they also need to be empowered to know how to use it. So
exactly.
Now it brings us to that aspect of awareness, education, and training.
Yes.
So how do we facilitate that? How do we facilitate that? And that's the first part of the question. The second part is data sharing, which I will kind of take to Prince later. But what is your thought on this? I would like you to make contribution on this in terms of creating awareness, education, communication for them to know.
Yes, you see, this is the way I think about it. We have to bring some ideas from open data frameworks and open data networks to bear in agriculture. And encourage everybody to see themselves as people who have to cooperate together rather than compete together. And I feel that because many people don't understand the sheer size of agriculture. So many companies see themselves as competitors. Let's take Nigeria. Agriculture alone is a $100 billion segment. There is not one company that can capture that whole market. That's an outright lie. So there will be many companies. So, but if everybody understands that by us contributing into an open data framework, we cannot make the ecosystem richer. And that's what these social media platforms have done. They are really just kind of crowd-based open data platforms. Bolaji is contributing pictures of what's happening in his life. Femi is contributing, Okwe is contributing, everybody is contributing, and then that information becomes valuable to the world. So that's my basic thinking, which is let's stop competing, let's start contributing.
Wow.
And then the second thing is that I would say is really in computer language, they talk about natural language processing, which is, can you talk to the computer in your natural language? And I feel that in agriculture, there's what I call a natural behavior processing, because there's a natural behavior that has been established through the years. At times, we might be trying to change the natural behavior rather than enhance natural behavior. Let us take the issue of farmers and herdsmen in Nigeria. I mean, these grazing routes have been there for thousands of years. It's not going to change anytime soon. So question is, why don't we begin to treat what we call grazing today as a form of tourist activity, where we migrate them into ranches, so that the man knows when I'm driving cow, I'm not driving the cow for somebody to kill it to buy. I'm driving it because some people will pay money to come and watch me driving the cow. But the man also knows that the rest of my cow are in a ranch or in a reserve somewhere. That's the one I will sell. And we begin to now use natural language, natural behavior, and the data around natural behavior, because we have that data that this is how people have behaved through the years. How do we now kind of make that data available to people in tourism? And if you look at it this way, you now say, okay, so somebody can come and watch me grazing a cow. It's like what I tell me in Abuja, that we are paying people to cut grass. We don't need to pay them to cut grass. Cows can be eating that grass for us, and then we make some nice fences there, and then we're actually charging people money to come and watch these cows eat.
Interesting. Now, let me
that was my contribution.
Yeah, thank you for that. I just want to take that to Mr. Azaino. Your thoughts around education, awareness. Then I will move us to the sharing part of it. Mr. Kimboro touched on how well we should be collaborating instead of competing. I think it's a cultural thing. We need to begin to break down the paradigm in this part of the world. There are a lot of examples around the world, communities of tribes coming together to create a kind of agricultural community, working together to maximize the output. But let's limit the point of discussion at this point to the awareness, training, and education. Mr. Azaino, please.
All right, thank you very much for me. First of all, I want to say that the agriculture sector in Nigeria and West Africa generally is dominated by smallholder farmers. And of course, we know the profiles of these smallholder farmers. So some of the high-end technologies will probably not be at the current state very, very relevant to these farmers. I want to also point out that 80%, the food production in Nigeria is currently done by 80% smallholder farmers. And these 80% smallholder farmers are producing 90% of the food requirement of the country. So you see that we're talking about a smallholder dominated environment.
Yes.
And so if we have to look at the education, awareness, and training of smallholders, it's going to be a long way, to achieve, considering the fact that most of these people are not educated, or at least they are not able to read and write, right? Either in English or even in their local languages. So this is where the revival of the agricultural extension system, in Nigeria and West Africa generally, becomes very, very important. If, for instance, the agricultural extension system was efficient and effective, that would largely reduce, or make up for the inability of the smallholder farmer to access data and information. So when we're thinking about education of the smallholder farmer, awareness creation and training, yes, that is very important. But one very key factor that can make that happen quickly and efficiently is, prioritizing, either the government extension worker or the private extension workers, to be able to do that. And so bulk of the awareness, education and training is now carried out by extension system. Of course, we do know that extension in Nigeria and West Africa generally is in a comatose state right now. So I think one recommendation that would be appropriate here is to look at how we can revive the agricultural extension system. It can even be commercialized by like bringing in private extension, workers who are paid for service, by the farmers. But as mentioned by, I think, Mr. Bolaji, the access to market for smallholder farmers, which is the route through which they generate income, must be, that road must be well paved so that, smallholder farmers can continue to sell their produce and generate income and and can pay for private extension service providers. Of course, recommending that government should revive the government agriculture extension system is like a recommendation that will continue to be put in the garbage bin because of dwindling government, funding, and then, the disinterest in doing that. So really, the way to go is probably private extension system. And that is something that I want all of us to reflect on this. Thank you.
I was thinking of that. We can do public and private partnership on that, because at the end of the day, the result of one person cannot be compared to result of two people working together. Now that takes me to Prince Yahweh. Your thoughts around education, training, and awareness. If you can't do education, if you can't do training, you can create awareness. And one area that I feel we can exploit is we can start from even primary schools. We can start from secondary schools. Because at the end of the day, you find out that more than 50% of the GDP of most nations in this part of the world comes from agriculture. So your thought, Prince, please. Yeah, you're muted. Can you?
Thanks very much for that question, and thank you all for your contribution. Actually, touch the point that I have in mind, and good enough. Femi, you just touched on something I was going to allude to about the education, and then when you were talking about, institution. I remember when we were growing up, when we were going to elementary school, right? We had rotation and times that we during the week that we would spend in the farm, right? So every classroom, they cut land portion for us, and then they will tell us to cut and then to grow some things in the farm. And then we use that as part of our agriculture class lessons. But to go back to a point, there are from models, right? From non-models, there are key service provider models, which actually the bone of contention to make sure that education and information is being passed down as needed for data, digitalization, and even just agriculture in general, right? And everybody have mentioned it. So when we talk about the education, those are research entities, right? We could have research entities all the way through to the higher institutions. We have people that are doing Agriconomics, right? And they can go into research project. And while they're doing their project, they can visit some of all these rural areas and create this association with the smallholder and even the large holder. But pretty much, let's just say agriculture, right? Let's try to say nobody's smallholder, nobody's large holder. Let's create importance to everybody that is within the agriculture field, right? And then we're talking about the government extensions and the NGO extensions services, just like how Mr. Emmanuel mentioned, right? It's a very good governance or nation that is giving a sincere governance service delivery will understand that agriculture government extensions is important. So we can continue to talk it and people can continue to ignore it. But the fact is that the government extension program needs to be revisited, and those that are in the policy making and the giving government service delivery needs to really understand, buckle themselves up. Let's go back. It's not as if it's new. We've done this before. Why ignore all these things? All right. And I'm just trying to make sure that I drive that point. But let me just move on. And then we have the NGO extensions, right? So NGO extension services, which are partial extension services, like how Mr. Emmanuel said, that these are the things that we can really home on. We can drive that on our own. And then, we could create different project management, technical assistance providers, and even commercial service providers, right? These are the key main points that will help in creating this awareness, creating this education as for all, right? And then there's another key thing that we really need to also look at, right? We have farmers groups. We can organize farmers groups, farmers cooperatives, and farmers associations, right? And we could start it from rural areas all the way to the state level, the local government level, create models, create programs, create awareness documentations. And these we already know that we want to follow through. And following through means that we have understood that the government knows we have to create education in the agriculture sector to smallholders and let people know about the benefits of digitization, what this data is going to be for them. Include the farmers, include those smallholders, and let them understand that we're collecting this data for this purpose. It's for your purpose. They own the data, create that awareness, and before you know it, the need for the digitalization of agriculture, right, will just grow exponentially than what we need even in creating that awareness.
Great. I'm receiving a lot of ideas here, a lot of ideas and inspiration. I'm seeing business opportunities already. Correct. At least I can locate 2 already based on this discussion. That is actually part of my question, which I will take later. We're supposed to have a poll now from the participants. I believe Mr. Joe is setting that up so that we can quickly take that poll. It's a way to get feedback from the participants. I would like to go through that statistics again so that we'll get to understand the weight of what we are talking about here. I will share that screen. Just hold on a bit. I hope everybody can see my screen. Let's look at the right side of the screen, the slab there. The first bullet talked about the agriculture analytics growth. The market is growing. The market is growing. So one area, an opportunity here is people that want to go into creating awareness, partnering with NGOs. That, okay, this is what we want to do. We believe in data-driven agriculture in Africa, and the limitation, the biggest hurdle to getting this from thinking, from talking to practice is first of all creating awareness and training. Then the second bullet there kind of resonates with what Mr. Azano was talking about. So the estimate 25% of the, let's look at Nigeria for example. 25% of the GDP of Nigeria economy is composed of the agriculture sector. That's about 4.5 trillion naira between 2018 and 19. Now, 70% of Nigeria's labor force is employed in the agricultural sector. Can you imagine that? 70% of 200 million people working in a sector. You can imagine the huge opportunity. Now, many will see problem, the challenges, but as business owner, we are there to actually solve problems. So if you have 70% of 200 million people in a particular sector, only contributing 25% of the GDP, what do you think the problem? Now, the agriculture contributes 5% of the economic goods exported out of Nigeria, while the other 95% of export is made up of petroleum products. The last three bullets put things in perspective, not only in Nigeria, but I would say the rest of Africa, maybe except Zimbabwe or South Africa. You have disempowered majority of the population, contributing only 5% of the GDP. So what are your thoughts around this?
Yeah, if I can start, you want me to put a point
Yes,
to
please.
that? Yeah, I'll start from, you know, the last point, right? We need to get the understanding, right, that we didn't just get here. We've been here before, right? When you say agriculture contributes 5% of the economic goods exported out of Nigeria. So before, 95%, agriculture contributes 95% of the economic goods
Exactly.
out of Nigeria.
Exactly.
Right? So we've been there before. So what happened? So part of the awareness and the education, right, is to go back, do comparative analysis, right, and do reviews. And this is what data will help us to do. And this is where we will talk about government policies. And this is where we'll talk about awareness into people going back into agriculture, right? It's not just the government sitting somewhere and saying, oh, everybody go back to agriculture, you can do this, and not playing their own part in their roles, right? And then the individuals and the small farmers equally will play their own part in their roles. And then before you know that, we will go back to where we were before. Okay, and then even if it's going to be something gradual, it should be by now that we should be saying 50%, right, of the economic goods exported outside of Nigeria, right, is agriculture, because we were 95% before, right? So it's all about understanding the new world that we are in, new technology, new perception, new policies, governance, service delivery, sincere governance, service delivery, and addressing agriculture as to saying that we have arable land in Africa. All right. A whole lot of places outside of Europe, Middle East, and a whole lot of other countries throughout the whole world. You cannot. I mean, we were talking about this, within a meet yesterday. You cannot throw a seed on the ground where you have snow, right, or where you have non-arable land for 1, 2, 3 weeks. Nothing is going to happen. Where you could help them with fertilizers and stuff. That is how it's been done in a lot of parts of the world. In Africa, throw a seed out, 3, 4 days, go back there. You will see it will germinate, right? So we're just not maximizing what we have as regards to saying the contribution of a country to our exports.
Now, Prince, if I may come in there, and this is where we need to be very, very, we need to be wary and cautious about what others are doing. They're beginning to buy the land from us already. I will not mention from which part of the world. They're beginning to buy the land from us. Now we have 65% of the arable land of the world. Now we're beginning to kind of sell our heritage. I think the Farmers Association, government extension program, we need to actually bring them back to create synergy, to create that force that actually needed to sway our policy so that we don't sell our heritage and the next generation coming, we begin to buy the land from foreigners.
Correct.
So I would just want to kind of move away from us now. We've been talking. Please, let's allow the attendees and the participants, esteemed participants, to actually talk to us. Now, I'm getting some contribution from them. I will just go through from Praise Bello. The lack of value for research-based data from our institution by government and agriculture key players. So we don't value research-based data. We more or less, we are driven by sentiment. That's a point from him there. I thank you for that contribution. Then the next one says, lack of reward system for best research work and data from final year student project results. So linkage is here. How do you link what is happening in the academia with industry? So there are a lot of research works that have been done by students, even the final year student, their project. How do we commercialize this? It's a lack of reward system. When we reward someone that just kind of stayed in an enclosure for 2 months playing, we give them billions of naira. Then someone with first class, we just give him 10,000 naira. It shows the kind of misplaced priority in the society. And again, it resonates with the cultural aspect of this part of the world. And I still believe that when we continue to come together, we can change things faster than just on individual level. Another point here is lack of funding of data-based research work. Funding. Mr. Kimboro, you are in the ag-commerce of sector. How can we bring in funds into this area in such a way that the investment and the financier, we see it as appealing, and we not see it as a kind of sinkhole because of collateral damage? that may arise?
This is my thought on this subject. If you use Nigeria and a number of African countries as a case study, you notice what is kind of happening, that there's a lot of intervention programs going in. More or less, you begin to notice that central bankers are more or less becoming the Ministry of Agriculture in various countries in one form or another. But you really now begin to check how much of funding can come into the sector through that channel. So my paradigm is that one of the things we have to do now is to bring the power of capital markets to bear in agriculture. If you take a look at Nigeria, for example, now there's 7 trillion naira in pension funds, if not more. Then you have the millions of individual investors who've got some money that they need a better yield on. We now need to make sure that things like the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, they succeed, so that we can begin to channel now more of private capital into agriculture. Because until we leverage the power of capital markets, we will not break the dependency of our agriculture, our research. Everything is dependent on either government or donors or the central bank. So for me, if you were to ask me, how do you see the future? We really need to bring the power of capital markets to be in agriculture, through different instruments, through different contract framework. And I'll give you an example. In America right now, if you wanted to raise money, let us take a company called, I think they are called Nikolai. They wanted to do electric power trucks. Those trucks don't exist today, but they created a special kind of company they call a SPAC, and they raised $100 billion to get it going. Think about it now. If we are using those kind of ideas to really bring funding to agriculture, we'll really transform it. So for me, it's really about, innovative system. That's how I'm thinking about it in my own way. Anyway, I don't know what the other panelists are thinking of.
Yes,
So
maybe I could contribute here too.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I told the direction of Mr. Bolaji in this regard. Most of those data collection and research work that you need funding for, and some of the kind of researches that we were carrying out in agriculture decades ago, most of those researches are no longer relevant. And when they are not so important now. For instance, to do soil sampling in those days for a 1 hectare field, you will need to go to the field with what we call an oja and do probes, several locations of 1 hectare. And that will even take, more than one person to do, and you go to the lab and you carry out the analysis, you determine the nutrient requirement and all of that. And then you make a fertilizer recommendation. But that kind of extensive work, and just imagine if you have to do that for 100 hectares or even 1,000 hectares. So the amount of funding, the amount of labor and time that will take will be so much. But this is something that can be easily done using the science of, geospatial technology today, right? Or using, drones, or even using what we call the science of spectroscopy, in determining the soil profile and then determining nutrient and then fertilizer requirement. So it is technology that the little funding that is available, I believe that a large part of it should be put into technology rather than, all of those analog kind of things that used to happen, 30 years or 50 years ago. So like Akimboro said, we need to tow the direction of technology. Whatever little funding that is available need to be, large chunk of it need to go on technology. And I see us, addressing this, in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have a question for Prince, but before I go into that, please allow me to take some comments from the our esteemed participant, please. From Mr. Olumide, said, kindly help us share the screen of agricultural production value chain briefly. I'll do that. Let me take some other thoughts and contribution. We will launch a poll to actually gather your thoughts. We're working on that at the back end before we move on. Okay. Another thought here from Benson Joka. I hope I pronounced that name well. With the recent government policies in agricultural sector in Nigeria, funds are set aside as grant and SME loans for small-scale farmers and for youth who are interested in farming. But they face difficulty in accessing these funds. How should the government or agency make this easy for people to access? What modalities are being put in place to reduce the difficulty in accessing these loans and grants? There are a lot of grants all over the place. CBN, like someone here rightly mentioned.
I manage a grant of 8 million to agribusinesses, right?
Wow.
$8 million to agribusinesses. And I can tell you why people cannot access it.
Okay.
So, and it's the same thing with the government grants and all of that. So my role as R&D director of the Trade Hub is actually, managing a grant sum of $8.1 million. And this is a grant that is meant for agribusinesses that have research and innovative ideas that they want to pursue, right? Now, you come through hundreds of applications and you really don't find anyone or very few ones are meeting requirements. Why? The major why is that the people who are applying for these grants or funds, they are not actually prepared, right? They don't read the requirements. They don't, prepare themselves to want to meet the requirements before the application, and they just apply. If you apply for a grant or a fund and you don't meet the requirement, you can be sure that you're not going to get it. So this is the major problem of funds that are available here and there, and farmers and agribusinesses are not meeting the requirement. For instance, if you want me to fund your business, right? If I'm not just to throw away my money, I want to see that you have been doing that business for a while. I want to see the profitability records of the business, over the years that you have been doing it. I want to see somebody who is ready to buy your product, that is a ready market. So maybe a form of an MOU with an off-taker, or an LPO from a big buyer, right? I want to see your statement of account, how you have run that account for maybe the past 3 years to see that, yes, monies are coming. I want to see your cash flow projections and all of that. So most of those businesses, they don't have all of these things. And because of this, they cannot access funding that are available.
Mr. Zaino,
I think that, yes, sir.
Mr. Zaino, sorry to cut in. I think I want to kind of re-echo the thoughts going through the minds of some people there. What of startups that don't have up to 3 years of their balance sheet? What do you do with such?
Okay, so if you are a startup, you can't just start now and say you are a startup, I want to go and do 5 hectares of 10 hectares of cassava farm. If you are a startup, I want to see your history. Have you done even a quarter of an hectare or even 2 plots of cassava farm before? What knowledge do you have? What is your background? Where is your proposal that shows that you really understand the business that you want to do? So yes, startups can get funding, but they still need to prove that they understand the business and they have the capacity to utilize the funds when given.
Now, I want to kind of tie this discussion to what Mr. Kimborough mentioned before now. He talked about how they are beginning to enhance the profile of the farmers so that they can access this fund. Would that be okay that this is another service that your can also offer? Because see, we have this capacity, there's this capacity limitation in this part of the world in terms of education, instead of standardizing our approach to how we apply for grants. How can you help? Because the money is sitting down there and nothing is happening. Someone said recently that 100% of nothing is nothing. I would rather take 50% of something.
Yeah.
So how do you reduce or lower the ceiling, or by enhancing the profile of applicants?
Okay, so if I just jump in here too,
yes.
One of the things that we have seen is a business opportunity is for organizations that can, build capacity of startups to a point where they become credit worthy. More like incubation, or what they call business incubation kind of, business is very, very important, because most of these startups, they don't have any information that, can empower, the grant provider to, provide grants to them. No, even simple banking history. Every money that you are paid is paid by hand and by cash. There's no history. There's no invoice. You understand? There's no sales invoice. There is no profit and loss, even unaudited profit and loss. They don't have it. So, an organization like a business incubation organization that can help bring these startups from where they are to a point where they can become, credit worthy, where they can access a grant or access a bank facility is very, very important.
Very, very important. I want to take this question thought from the participant before we move on to the next item on the agenda. From Praise Bello, thank you for your contribution. I appreciate that. My challenge with Nigeria government is politicizing grants, giving grants not on the basis of merit, preparedness, skillfulness, but to only people that has government links and can be recommended by people in government. Well, I wouldn't want to throw this out there. I would just want us to write on the aspect of being credit worthy. I think if you look at the slew of the number of people trying to access this fund, you find out that 70 to 80% of them kind of fall into the bracket of really needing help to enhance their profile in order to access these funds. Let's say less than 15 to 20% may be due to politics, because I believe that there are platforms out there today that they are transparent enough to audit your book and to know if you are being transparent and if you are being fair in dishing out this fund. So I wouldn't make this a big subject, sir. Please permit me. Too much of politics there, but let's try and focus on the aspect of capacity development in terms of making the majority credit worthy, how to prepare their book. And again, we are talking about data-driven agriculture. If you don't have a book, that is where to start. That is where to start. That is where to start. Your balance sheet, your customer relationship data, your financial data. I think this is where to start. And we shouldn't kind of conclude this session today without mentioning this. We need to go back and begin to drive our business, whatever we do using data, starting from taking account of what we do, the cash flow analysis, the sales data, the pipeline data, and the rest of them. Thank you for that contribution, sir. Taking another comment. I would like to float a poll. Prince, please, do you have any thought there while I'm trying to set up the poll from here?
No, Ivan, you could go ahead. I think the points have been touched and been made. So Mr. Manuel actually have equally given us his insight. I will agree that we need to help the reduce the ceiling somehow, right? Create avenues, awareness, education to help people access these funds, right?
Yes. Yes.
I think we need to do that, and the policies that can help in addressing that, so as to let these funds be available, right? They're sitting there. We're sticking to the stiff requirements. Their requirement, they're not stiff, but I'll call it stiff requirement because they're not being met, right? And we sit there 2 years, 3 years, the fund is there.
The fund is there.
It's not being met. So
yes,
the people trying to access it, it has turned to a stiff requirement. So how do we simplify, right? And create some innovative ways to help people understand how to access the fund? And Mr. Bolaji equally have mentioned about part of the things that they're doing in creating collaborative work associations, groups, or a platform that will make this fund accessible to those that are not able, the collection of farmers and growers, right? Maybe that will equally help as well. And then they can use that platform to interrelate what Mr. Emmanuel is talking about and make the funds available and then police the fund sort of and make sure that they're being used for what they're being requested for.
Okay, thank you very, very much for the contribution. I just have 3 points here that can help us to see how we can profile a solution to access to fund. Number one is let's go through the cooperative route, whereby the association kind of be the collateral for the members. So through the association, as a member, at least they can vouch for you, you can access the fund. Then, like Mr. Kimboro mentioned, you can find a way to creatively help the profile of this farmer by kind of help them. Most of them may just be due to limited understanding of how to actually develop their business cases. And that may just be the problem, might just be education. The last part, I think, is we may have to look at the requirements. If we have to find a way to come up with different categories, requirements for different strata of that industry. Mr. Prince, you can recall that in the US, there's this loan called AAA. AAA doesn't have too much of collateral. All you need is citizenship, if I'm correct.
Yeah, you're correct. Actually, there are different type of loans that are actually accessible, but though in the developed country here, what they do pretty much is, your credit worthiness. Your credit worthiness, it's one of the things that I think I'm not sure how well we're doing it back in Nigeria, for example. Everybody, just like say you're a citizen or you're legal resident, like we're trying to build in Nigeria now, they're trying to work on the NIN number.
Good, yes.
Here have social security number, right? The social security number is more like tied to most of all your financial dealings, right? And with that, you have, three major credit bureaus that actually use your financial dealings to build your credit worthiness. And even though there are different requirements that are made for small, mid-sized business, large corporation, even agriculture, right? The requirements that made it so accessible in some ways so as to grow the economy and create access to this fund. But still, they still review your credit worthiness through those credit bureau system.
Okay, so
yeah.
Let me just add.
Okay.
Now, based on my experience, any serious farmer or agribusinessman who wants to access loan and you don't even have anything, the most important thing to do is to start very small on your own. Don't think of 5 hectares, think of even 20 meter by 20 meter small field. Plant what you want to plant. As you're doing it, have records, take pictures, document your planting date, document the quantity of seed, document your fertilizer use, document the yield. On the harvest day, take pictures, take various pictures, right? And have all of this information as evidence that you already start to do that thing and you have some experience in it. From 20 by 20, move to maybe 20 by 50 and document your experience as well. Take pictures, have records, calculate, do your profit and loss, mention your customers, who you sold to, at what price and all of those. If you have this information well documented in maybe 2 seasons or 3 seasons, I tell you, you can walk to a small, grants program and be able to access the fund. But to just come to a program and say, look, I want to do 10 hectares of a tomato farm. Where is the evidence? Where are the records that you know what you're talking about? So it is not about a big bank account or having an audit firm, to audit your record, or having all of the information, done perfectly. That is not what we are asking for. We are asking for this basic, small, information that shows that you are in touch with what you are doing, that you know what you are doing. And so these people out there who will just be sleeping at home and just wake up the next day and they're going to meet a grant program, give me money. You can't get money that way. Go to the field, fold your sleeves, start something small. If you can't do 20 by 20, do 10 by 20, do 10 by 10. Show, to a grant program that you know what you are doing. And if given more money, you can expand the scale of that operation. I think that is all what is needed.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the contribution, sir. I appreciate that. A message from Prince Bello here is asking for how we appreciate any grant agency or opportunity link. Well, we will send this to your email after the program. You can just send your request to the email that we're going to kind of publish after the course of the program. Then I believe they'll be taken care of. The request to show the value chain again, we just do that before we'll take the poll. Mr. Joe, please be ready to kind of float the poll from your hand. I can't do it from here yet. I hope we can see the screen showing the value chain analysis and agriculture analytics market, unleashing the potential of the agricultural economy. That is the way to go. Based on the meeting we had yesterday, the thoughts that keep coming to me, a personal view here is you can't really have innovation, successful innovation and technology without data. And you can have data without such. See, every farmer today has a phone device with him. That is where to start. Let's practicalize it. At least you will have the list of the names of people that buy from you. That is data. We are not talking about internet data here. That is data. You can start from there. Now, Mr. Zaino said something that if you're doing something, can you go and take a picture of what you're doing, present it? That is data. Data can be in different formats. You can write it on a sheet of paper. That is data. The next level is, okay, do you want to digitalize it? Convert it to digit. That is the next level. And that is what we're going to discuss in the next session of this our discussion. So I hope we can see the screen. Just going through it again, this actually shows the ecosystem of agriculture and agribusiness. You need to understand where you are playing and how things are done in that particular sector or agricultural activity or operation as it may be. You have to look at this chain end to end. Where do I fit in? And how best can I play there? Mr. Kiboro said something, it's a huge market and it's going to grow to about $5.2 trillion in this decade. So no one company or conglomerate can take the entire market. So the sky is large enough for all of us to play in. But the question is, how do we want to play? The takeaway for us for WASP 2021 is that to uncouple this, to maximize the potential in this ecosystem, we have to start to be thinking of how to use data to drive it. Because data will provide better understanding, deeper insight. We give you a good visibility of what is happening. I love the word from Presbelo. He said relevant dashboard. How many of us can drive our car today without the dashboard? The speedometer, the fuel meter, the AC meter, and the rest of them. And you can imagine in today's world, the kind of vehicles that are being manufactured, the many dashboards that you have there that you have to interpret in order to operate the car or the vehicle. The same thing, businesses are becoming more and more complex. And it will take the understanding of data to master them, to really maximize the potential in that part of business. The technical team, are we set for the poll?
Yes, we are, sir.
Okay, so I will stop sharing from my side, then you can just float the poll. The poll is also the WASP strategy to start driving a meeting like this from data perspective. The poll asks 7 questions that we need you to just let us know what you are thinking about them. At the end of the program tomorrow, we are going to publish the general thinking, the pulse in the industry for everybody to see. So please float the poll while I stop sharing from my side. It will take only between 5 minutes and 10 to do this. Please, if you cannot see the poll, you need to let us know so that we can find a way to get it across to you. Good. I can see it from my side. Please notify and let us know if you cannot see it using the chat room. The first question is about business challenges. And which of these has the highest negative impact on agribusiness, both locally and globally? You can choose any of the options that applies. The second question is around profitability. Looking at the COVID period, we believe that COVID has more or less kind of impacted negatively production and profitability in that industry. So we're trying to know your profitability status by the second question. The next one is on the customer base. Are you gaining customer or you're losing customer? Or it's just a flat line? That's the third question. The fourth question is on technology application. The phone in your hand is your first technology application. So don't think until I have a platform in the cloud. No, the phone in your hand, that communication device in your hand is your first technology platform that you can use to start managing your business. There are a lot of applications, free applications that you can use on your phone today that can help you to serve better, to move faster, and to be creative about your service. So are you using technology? Then the fifth question here is around data. We are looking at it, we're looking at the whole breadth of the value chain, from the field to the family or to the fork. What are those technology that drive data that you can collect even from the farm? The seedling information, the soil data, to climate data, production data, so that you don't overproduce. If you overproduce, how do you store it? How do you manage, how do you preserve? Then the next level is, how do you process? Then the next level is logistic and distribution. Then trading and commerce, consumption, recycling, and waste management. The sixth question is on the general industry outlook. How is it? Is the future bright? Or you don't know, it's uncertain, especially in West Africa. And I believe we may have touched on some of those salient points that will address most of the problems that we are facing in that industry. The last question is shared responsibility. We have mentioned the government extension program, the cooperatives, farmers association. I think that's the way to go now. That's the way to go. How do we share this responsibility among ourselves? That collective responsibility. How do we collaborate more, either and not compete? So those are the 7 questions that we want you to let us know your thoughts. It's not what is right or what is wrong. It's actually to gauge the pulse in the industry. I can take thoughts from the members of the panel. If you have thoughts to add, reflection on what we have been discussing before we move to the last section of this discussion. Mr. Kimboro, you have been silent a bit.
No, I've just been listening to the other participants and enjoying the conversation.
Good. Yeah, someone is unable to submit here. That's Hamedi. Yes, we'll be wrapping up soon.
Okay, quickly, if I can just drop some point down as we move along.
Okay, good.
Yeah, if we look at part of the prevalent issues in a sector of agriculture, I know Mr. Akumura mentioned about it earlier. The cattle rearing that is a great debacle right now over in Nigeria. A data collation can actually go a long way in helping that industry more into all people understanding and that cattle rearing should not and should stop being primitive, right? We're in a new world. We're talking about the future of food. We're talking about the future of access to all the value chain produce that you get from cattle rearing itself, right? And not just the beef. We're talking about the milk. We're talking about the skin. We're talking about leather. We're talking about belts. A whole lot of things that you could actually get from the cattle if you are doing it right. In the new age of what we talk about ranching, and the mindset of the way we look at it from outside the box. Looking at it from another part of the world, the mindset of thinking that a particular ethnic or a particular set of group of people only can do cattle rearing, it's quite primitive, and we should create data, collate data, get information out there about the way we used to do it before, right? I can categorically tell you there's a place that used to be called Fashola Farms, where the Southwestern region, right, actually have a huge cattle ranching, right, which they were using to supply beef for the Southwest, so-called Southwest region at that point in time. In the Northwest, and even part of the program that they were doing then, they had imported some very specific beef, cow bread called Indiami from Senegal and from Mali. Currently today, the North America, they actually did the same thing Nigeria did at that time. They took this breed because this breed of cattle were known to be more prone to sessifly, which was one of the things that was actually killing cattle at that time. And today, the higher percentage of the breed of cattle that are being killed in North America, right, actually have that Senegal, they call it Senegal poultry, form of bread within their cattle today. They only took from analysis, I think just 20 or 25 pieces way back many years ago. And today they have a huge, breed of this type of cattle all around. And I can tell you that the people that have ranches over here, they're not a particular ethnic group, right? And they're not specific type of people. Well, anybody can get into ranching, and cattle rearing and get a whole lot of produce, get the data that you need to say that I am going to go into, leather, for example, when I do my, I'm going to go into, livestock in milk, producing milk, for example, and not just beef, right? And so all this can be achieved not by grazing, right? Moving from one end of the country to the other end of the country. Yes, the cattle need to graze, but then in a particular location. We have places here in Texas, I'm in Texas, and when you travel, when you see how they do all this, they have machineries that actually we cut most of all this grass, right, and feeds that the cattle will eat, right? They roll it all up, right, and they take it to where the ranches are and feed them, right? We should start giving respect, right, to what we eat. Okay, when this cattle wander around, it's going to go back into us after we buy it and eat. But if we put it in a ranch, get it taken care of the way we did it before. We did it before in 1960 in Nigeria.
Yes.
Right? We did it before. So it's not new. Cattle ranching, it's not new. And so we make sure that what we consume, right, is healthy enough for us rather than what we don't know that has moved, from north to south. And then now it's costing a whole unbelievable fighting and this. It's different from the cattle farmer herders. That's different, right? You have to conceptualize it, collect data about what really is going on. Talk to farmers, get all this information, present it to the locals, present it to the government, create that awareness between even these farmers and the cattle rearers to understand these are the data that are collected and these are the advantages of what we will get from ranching, and start creating that education and that love for ranching.
Thank you.
Stop all
Thank
this.
You. Thank you for the contribution. I think we need to, government has a lot to do there, and I believe also that the government extension program will also help by grouping the stakeholders in that sector to come together and provide solution to it together. Please, we'd like you to quickly kind of round off the poll now. Please, if you have not taken it, I'm giving you 2-3 minutes to do that. This is very, very important to us. We have to practice what we preach. This is a way of data collection also to help us serve the industry better. Please, I'm giving you 2 to 3 minutes to quickly just run through the poll. It's not a poll for what is right or what is wrong. It's just your thought regarding the situation that we have actually listed out there. Please, quickly, in the next 2 to 3 minutes, we need you to participate in this. We want to get your thought, what you are thinking, because this report is going to high places to also help them in their decision making and in policy, influencing the policy in the industry. So 2 minutes more to quickly do that. The technical team should just notify me when we've had at least most of the participants taking the poll. In the interest of time, we'll move to the next session of this discussion, and I believe it has been very, very engaging, informative, interactive. There are a whole lot of ideas that I'm getting here that to me, they are point of action we shouldn't come to meeting like this to hear alone. I think it's good to hear to do, so that we practice what we have learned here, and we must commend the participants and the members of the panel for taking time out and for actually participating in this session, giving us nuggets required for managing businesses today, especially in the agriculture sector. I will take this question, a contribution rather, from Benson Ijaoka. I hope I pronounced that well. I am an agrarian soil science specialist, yet aim in sales and marketing sector. But because I don't have the financial history, registered company, as mentioned by one of our speakers, how do you advise and encourage the younger people to look towards agriculture as agric graduates, rather than push them towards other work area? Encouragement, how do you incentivize them to actually stay committed to their line of study? Mr. Kimboro, I would like your thought around this. And Mr. Zaino, based on your interaction with prospective agrarians or agripreneurs.
Yeah, this at least this has been my experience. When somebody does not have the history to access financing, the immediate option available are grants. And if the person is below 35, the various youth grants. For example, one of the largest foundations from out of Canada is running a huge youth program that people like I see midwifing that program. So if he reaches out to IIT about their youth empowerment program, there is a lady there called Evelyn. That's her name. I think she's the one that runs that program. So that's the option at the beginning stage like this. That's what I would recommend. Okay.
Can you share this link with us? I believe after today's session, I will get across to you.
No, I have that information.
Okay, good. We need to find a way to share it so that
it's MasterCard Foundation you are referring to, right?
Yes, actually.
Yes, it's MasterCard Foundation. No problem.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. The next line of thoughts that I have here is around a question. I think we've touched on it, and that is the various opportunities we have in the how to use data in agriculture and in agribusiness. Can we let us know the opportunities there that we can see? I will throw that to Mr. Zaino.
Okay, so can you hear me? Great.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
So as you know, my experience largely is working on the farm end of the value chain, working with smallholder farmers and all of that. So I'm going to talk largely around my experience in this part of the
I need that
chain.
practical experience. What are the opportunities you see there based on being on the ground, getting your hands?
Okay, so there are many opportunities, that both data providers and data miners can share around, with smallholder farmers around production. For instance, we cannot overemphasize the implication of climate change on, the agriculture practice as it is right now in Nigeria and West Africa generally. So the rains are very, very unpredictable now, so maybe a farmer has been living in an area where the rain would normally start in April. Sometimes you can wait from April to May, the rains will not even start, and before you know it, the rains are starting in June. Or you are preparing for rain starting in June and the rain starting in April. So this unpredictable nature of rainfall, means that farmers who practice rain-fed agriculture would need, weather reports, rainfall data, forecasts, rainfall forecasts, to know when the rains will start. Of course, this data may not be 100% accurate, but 90% of the time that can be, be relied on. So weather forecast data. Then the second thing that farmers would need at this end also is soil fertility, information. As we have mentioned before, the soil fertility is something that has, been changing over the years. And because of this, farmers need to know exactly what kind of, nutrient they need in their farmlands. And what will I say? I will say paradoxically, the fertilizers that are currently marketed in Nigeria and in Africa, they are fertilizers that we broadly refer to as generic fertilizer, right? So these fertilizers are manufactured in large quantities and marketed by fertilizer companies. But the truth is that this fertilizer will not necessarily meet this nutrient requirement of the land, that is in Benue or is in Sokoto or is in Cross River, for instance. The reason is that this fertilizer is just the average of all the land in Nigeria. And they say, okay, make it in 2020, NPK 2020. I can bring NPK 2020 or NPK 15 to a land in Benue now and apply 8 bags for cassava production, and not be able to provide all the nutrients that I need. So the data on what we call the soil specific or the land specific data is very, very important, so that would let the farmer know the type of nutrient and the quantity of fertilizer that he will need to apply. Then you talk about even the type of crop, the type of crop. The type of crop is also determined by the nutrient profile of the soil. So these are all data that farmers need. And from even the planting, you need data on germination counts. If you plant 100 seeds, how many are germinating? You need data on the performance of the crop. Most times, when you look at crops physically, you may not be able to tell whether the crop is having a problem or not. But with climate smart agriculture, use of sensors, and precision agriculture, we can know when there is the beginning of physiological whatever problem with the crop, and then an early intervention can be made. You talk even about the moisture requirement. What is the irrigation requirement of the land? Except that you have a system to generate data for you on the exact quantity of water that you need to irrigate your land, you probably will over-irrigate the land, which is not also good for your crop. So we need data on all these processes from land preparation, to planting, to fertilizer application, to the type of crop that you even need to plant at all in your field. We need data on all of this. And of course, you can, with data, you can also predict your yield, right? There are apps today that can help, predict the quantity of output, that a particular feed is going to generate based on the performance of the crop, So this kind of data can even help the banker to provide finance for a farm, even without getting to, the point of harvest. So these are various ways that, various data opportunities that are available to the farmer and to whoever is in a position, to provide this data for farmer use. Over. Hello, I hope you were hearing me.
Yes,
Hello?
yes. We were hearing you. I think Mr. Femi needs lost him or something.
Yeah, because Femi is frozen. So, but we are in the last 10 minutes of the session.
Did you hear me?
I think
really?
Femi is back. Yeah, we had you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we heard you.
Okay, great.
Okay, I mean, even the host has disappeared. Okay,
All right,
Femi is back.
seems to be back now.
Yes, sorry for that. In the interest of time, because we're going to end this session by 12:30, there's this burning topic that I would like us to touch, and I believe the members of the panel, they're excited about it. Number one is the digitization. What's the difference between digitization and digitalization? Number two is around the exponential technology in agriculture, when you start talking about artificial intelligence, big data, drones. I think drones are going to kind of cause a shift in that market. Again, blockchain, cryptocurrency. The last part of that is the future of food, the future of agriculture in general. So those are the three questions rolled into one. In the interest of time, I will just ask us to briefly kind of give us our thoughts around that, starting with Mr. Kimboro.
No, for me, it's very straightforward. I'll just work on the definition part.
Yeah.
I mean, the question of digitization really, to me, is really about how do you use digital to improve processes as they exist today, and how do you use it to innovate, and how do you make sense of all the data that exists. And digitalization, to me, it really means something that is wholly manual. We are not taking it digital. So let's take document management or certifications. Certifications for exports today is predominantly largely manual. So if we digitize that process now to make it wholly digital, and that's where interesting things like blockchain come into play, because now we can do provenance tracking end to end. So a blockchain technology now can allow us to digitalize processes that are wholly manual today. So we yank them out of the physical world into the digital world. And digitization means using software and various tools to make things work faster, much simpler, much better. That's what I would say very quickly as my closing comment on this.
What is your closing comment around the future of food?
I mean, the future of food for me is Africa, whether the world likes it or not. And Africa needs to get its act together. We will be the food basket of the world. And that is how we will change our economic fortunes. So China has taken over that role of the factory of the world. We will also be another F, but we're the food basket.
Yeah, someone said we should stop agonizing and start organizing ourselves. I think we need to organize ourselves. There are a whole lot of activities all over the place. How do we organize ourselves? Because we believe the synergy we will create when we come together will be greater than, kind of doing it on our own, individually. Just my thoughts. So, Prince, your thought around digitization and digitalization, exponential technology, and the future of food.
Yeah, thank you very much for that roundup. It's been a very good session, and I'll follow suit with what Mr. Akimbara has said. Basically, digitization is actually the conversion of data and putting it into processes, and using collation of data, converting something into a data form for use is what digitization is. And digitalization itself is, embracing that ability of digital technology, using that digital technology to collect data, establish trends. Someone mentioned just now, creating boards, right? Models and future visuals that is going to be able for people to really use that as an information dissemination. That's digitalization too. And the future of food. Yeah, I will also go with what Mr. Akimbara said. The future of food is Africa. But I will also say that the future of food had always been Africa, right? It was Africa before, but we misplaced our priorities, governance, and individuals. People really moved away from agriculture as it is. Let's say that. But we need to assess together and move back to what we're good at. We have a huge arable land that Africa can actually envisage on, and when we're not talking about digital agribusiness, right? We need to understand that this is real, right? And definitely it is here to stay. We need to embrace digitalization, right, within the agribusiness sector, and because that is what is going to help us to address, okay, the rapid growth of need for feeding the population growth of the world, right, in a more sustainable way.
More sustainable, yeah.
And the future of food, the way we see it, technology is going to play a huge role in being able to address the need, right, for the population growth and to be able to the population as we move along.
Thank you. Now, before I move to Mr. Azaino, what is the game changer for you in agriculture and agribusiness among all these? Artificial intelligence, IoT, drones, blockchain, synthetic biology, 3D printer, robotics, autonomous tractor, and smart agri. Among these, which one do you feel is a game changer for you?
Well, it's smart agriculture, actually, because a couple of things that you mentioned, when I lean into IoT and I lean into blockchain, they actually fall if you draw a tree, right, and create a model, they actually fall within smart agriculture.
Yes.
We just need to just do things smartly and embrace technology in the new way format. Artificial intelligence is coming a whole long way. Drone falls under IoT itself because the functionality of when you see the functionality of the drone actually can be defined under IoT as it is. So yes, you've mentioned a whole bunch of things right there, but yes, smart agri is what we think. I think we should really lean on.
Okay, I need to play the smart one on Mr. Kimboro here. All these areas of technology advancements, they fit into smart agri. Now, which of them do you think is the biggest game changer, Mr. Kimboro? Okay, I'll move over to Mr. Zaino.
Yeah. So looking at all of the discussions that we've had over the past 1.5 hours or so, it is very clear that the African or Nigerian West African agriculture, all of the data that are available, most of the data are still in the analog form. And this data will need to be digitized.
Continue, please. I think the link is unstable.
Before we can talk about even digital, or policy or awareness, to move current data that are available, rainfall data, digitalized form is one of the things that we must do. But again, remember that I said the agriculture in Nigeria and West Africa is largely driven by smallholder farmers. So the future of agriculture that we are seeing cannot be sustained by these people. So
I went off again. So yeah, Mr. Azaino, can you hear us?
I am looking at a transition from this smallholder farmer dominated agriculture. For instance, I was looking at some data recently where Netherlands with a population of Hello, sorry, my line dropped.
Yeah, no problem. We can continue.
Can you hear me now?
I like that Netherlands analogy, please. Can you keep?
And Netherlands is the third. Yes, and Netherlands is the third highest, exporter of agricultural, technology in the world. So you can imagine we need few farmers. We need few farmers who are big enough, to be able to say, yes, Nigeria and West Africa will be the food basket of the world, not with the current smallholder farmer. And again, we need to move away from the current, government-dominated agri-extension services, because agri-extension is very key, to the development of agriculture. You, for instance, as a computer-based person or a computer engineer or scientist, you coming into agriculture, and the person to handhold you would have to be the agri-extension person. So we need to move away from the government-dominated agri-extension to private agri-extension services. And for instance, looking at data again, the current age of agri-extension service providers, government agri-extension service provider in Nigeria is about 52 years, which means that these people are not even in the first instance productive anymore. They are already moving out of, this active age, that they can engage with farmers. And government is not employing, or most of the state governments are not employing, new agri-extension service providers. So the future is private agri-extension, and that is what will take us to, the promised land of being the food basket of the world. Yeah, I think these are just my thoughts on this.
Yes. Yes.
And again, even the use of technology will determine telephones, computers, being able to interpret data, and analyze data. All of these things are, capabilities that we expect from an educated, a well-educated, farming population, not the current smallholder farmers that we are talking about. So commercial agriculture is the future, and there need to be a paradigm change in the current set of players who are involved in agriculture.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that talk. The last question from the one of our participants is around these how to tackle the influx of these herdsmen on our farmland. I think government is doing a lot of consultation and meeting with all the stakeholders. in that sector already. We pray that they will find a kind of lasting solution. They will also find the political will to do the best for the nation. I think that's the best we can say here. We have come to the end of this power-packed session from the dream team for me. I believe this session has created another platform for the members of this panel. I really appreciate taking time out to join us, and also the several meetings we had before this session today.
Mr. Stevens, please.
Yes.
This is Okwe. Please, I would like to quickly state that some questions were sent in using the question and answer tab, but they are related to finance. So I want to use the opportunity to inform all that our last session for tomorrow is dedicated to finance.
Oh, great.
These questions have been noted and they will be addressed. I have sent the questions to the moderator and it will be addressed accordingly.
Yes, funding, generally.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the contribution. Mr. Prince Yahweh, thank you for your contribution, taking time out across the Atlantic. I believe this is just the beginning of many to come. Thank you for making such a powerful contribution and giving us insight. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir. Going to Mr. Emmanuel, our Abuja man. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for the contribution and taking time out for all the sessions that we've been having together. I hope very soon you come to Lagos, not permanently.
Yes, I definitely will come to Lagos.
Yes, we will have cleared the climate then, don't worry. Mr. Kimboro, thank you. As you can see, we do really have the need to switch over to you today to be in and out. I appreciate your contribution and the time you take out to be part of this, even before today's session. To the participants also, we appreciate taking time out and staying all through this session. Your contribution, the questions, and taking the poll, they are highly appreciated. So from my side, good afternoon, good day to everybody. Handing over to our honorable MC. Over to you, madam.
And at this juncture, I'd like to thank everyone who has been part of this colloquium. I'd like to thank the quad of Mr. Oluwafemi Stevens and the panelists, Mr. Emmanuel Asaino, Mr. Bolaji Akimboro, and Prince Adebayo Yahweh Wise. Thank you very much, everyone, for taking time out of your very, very busy schedule to be part of this colloquium. I'd also like to appreciate our sponsors, AFC, and our partners, Agro Nigeria, Livestone News, Rome Business School, Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, NASIMA, the Federation of West African Chambers of Commerce, the West African Fertilizer Association, and the Institute of Agribusiness Management in Nigeria. Thank you, everyone, for making our time to be with us. The afternoon session begins at 2 p.m. We'd like to welcome you. Thank you. God bless you. Bye.
Thank you all. Take care. Bye.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Femi and Prince. And then Bolaji will get in touch offline. Eh?
Definitely. Yeah, Mr. Manuel. Thanks.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
have with me some of our distributors from the Republic of Benin. Can we meet you, please?
I'm Samuel Obona. I'm a businessman, Chites Group of Company. We are from Benin Republic. We are here to see the products of PSC Nigerian Limited here in Ikeja, to know how the business, the product will move forward in Benin Republic. And we are here with the Director General, Dr. Patrick Owele.
Now that you've come to Lagos, Nigeria to see our products for yourself, what is your advice for the Republic of Benin as regards to our solar products?
There is no way of not convincing our customers to come and buy PSC solar products. Nous invitons toute la population du Bénin à adopter les produits PSC solar.